This is Movietone. Leslie Mitchell reporting. The year opened with those memorable pictures of the royal tour of the Commonwealth. An early port of call was at Suva in Fiji, where one of the most charming pictures of all was taken. After the official reception, the presentation of a bouquet by the 3-year-old daughter of a chieftain. Step back, sit down, and clap your hands. That's the height of good manners in Fiji. Then to Tonga, where the handsome and smiling Queen Salote welcomed Her Majesty, whose coronation she attended, as we well remember. She was now the royal hostess at a tremendous open-air feast. From Tonga, 1,200 miles aboard the Gothic to New Zealand. And here, of course, the most picturesque events were the Maori welcomes. Rotorua, famous for its bubbling hot springs and geysers, was naturally included in the royal itinerary of New Zealand. They performed splendidly for the royal travellers. There was a great welcome in Wellington, the capital, and to everyone's delight, Her Majesty wore her coronation gown when she opened Parliament. From New Zealand, the journey continued to Australia. As the Gothic steamed into Sydney Harbour, it was soon apparent that the royal visitors were to be given an overwhelming reception. Everyone will surely remember the remarkable scene here and how the people of Sydney first of all said it with yachts. That was only the prelude, however, for throughout their tour of Australia, the Queen and the Duke were royally welcomed again and again. Eventually, when the time came for farewells to be said, the visit had everywhere proved to be a most brilliant success. Highlight of the Queen's stay in Ceylon was the visit up country to Kandy. Remember these pictures of the traditional welcome accorded there? And the splendour and dignity of the scene as Kandian chiefs were presented? The last days of travel on the Commonwealth tour were made aboard the new royal yacht Britannia. Ships of the Mediterranean fleet met her at sea and escorted her to Malta. The Queen and the Duke, of course, were anything but strangers to the people of the George Cross Island, and their stay here was immensely popular. Finally, to Gibraltar. It was here that the camera concentrated on the royal children who had joined their parents earlier at Tobruk. The presentation of the keys of the fortress was obviously an important matter to be watched with close attention. But the picture at Gib was the feeding of the famous Barbary apes. For Prince Charles and Princess Anne, this was an absorbing and jolly exciting business. The conclusion of the tour was the beginning of the triumphant return. Britannia steams up the Thames towards the great welcome home for the Queen and the Duke. The end of the journey was at Westminster Pier, and it was here that royal family greetings were exchanged. Then home again to Buckingham Palace, and for the royal tour so magnificently accomplished, an ovation from the people of the capital. But the summer of 1954 was nothing to cheer about, and Britain wasn't the only land to suffer. The appalling weather was worldwide. Could it in fact be related to atomic explosions? This is what happened at Niagara Falls thanks to the heavy rains. Remember this spectacular Movietone shot? Floods caused loss of life and vast damage in India, among other countries. Yes, abroad and at home, the weather of 1954 was something no one's likely to forget for a long time to come. One particularly bright event for the British people, however, was the end of all rationing at long last. No wonder, with such displays in the shop windows, blokes with that lean and hungry look began to gloat. No wonder we made bonfires of those wretched ration books. As for 1954 sport, The cup final at Wembley was won by West Bromwich Albion, who beat Preston North End. The derby was a thrilling victory for Never Say Die, ridden by young Lester Piggott. In spite of the summer's wind and rain, bathing beauties braved the weather in quest of the title Miss Britain. Pat Butler of Hoylake won it. And beauties from many lands converged on London for the Miss World contest. Judging must have been very tricky, but eventually Miss Egypt, 19-year-old Antigone Costander, won the title. But the weather never let up, not even for glorious Goodwood. The Queen, the year's most successful owner, saw her colt Lando win the Sussex Stakes at Goodwood. And at Vancouver, could Roger Bannister win the Miracle Mile? That's what the Duke of Edinburgh and thousands of spectators now waited to see. The race was a tremendous duel between Landy of Australia, the world record holder, and Bannister, now running second. Landy set a terrific pace. Could Bannister produce his famous winning spurt? Yes, there he goes, streaking past Landy with what he called his finishing kick. And what a kick! His victory was as great a triumph as Jim Peters' effort to win the marathon was tragic. What a grim drama that was, as the gallant Jim collapsed within 200 yards of victory. Another athletic highlight of the year was Chris Chataway's brilliant performance at the White City during the Moscow-London meeting. Vladimir Kutz of Russia forced the pace in the 5,000 meters, but with only 10 yards to go, Chataway passed him and won in a new world record time. Foreign Affairs now and the Geneva Conference. Monsieur Manders France played a leading role in company with the Western powers in bringing the fighting to a halt in Indochina. London and Paris agreements included vitally important Franco-German accord over the Tsar, and the question of West German rearmament was settled subject to ratification. Yes, it was a year of diplomatic success in the West, with Sir Anthony Eden's initiative an outstanding factor. The failure of EDC was rapidly followed by agreement on alternative plans for Western defence. Now hopes for peace through unity were certainly aroused by the work of the foreign ministers and governments concerned. So 1954 ends in Britain on a promising note. Throughout the United Kingdom, business and industry are going strong. There's full employment and increasing production, accompanied by a rising tempo of prosperity. Our wish for the new year is that peace among the nations may be established on foundations of lasting strength. Then, with recovery from the aftermath of war continuing to expand, the future could be bright indeed.